great.
Awesome.
Lucy, thank you. Yay.
Thank you, man. Yes, sweet.
When you get those songs in the booth, have you ever like done two different people at the same time singing? Or is it always one at a time?
Oh, good question. It usually is just one at a time. So that way the mix engineers kind of have more control over what to do with this voice. I suppose if there were a large chorus of a background vocal, then we would shove a bunch of people in there in wall style.
Is that what she asked?
Yeah, isn't it? Is that what you asked?
About singing at the same time?
Yeah.
They may sing at the same time, but even if they did, they would set them up in separate booths on separate mics and have them isolated separately.
Otherwise.
So that you could control them separately. Even if they were perfect, the EQ, for instance, on Caitlin's voice might need to be different than on Lucy's voice. Or they might want to use different effects, or they might want to use a different, do something different, use different elements on different voices. So you don't want to combine them together from the very beginning, because then you can't affect them separately. But they might sing at the same time, but even if they did, they would put them in separate, isolated areas so that they would record them on their own separate track, so they could do them. It would be like a band. It would be like a band in a recording studio, and they would be playing together, so that, but the drummer would be in a booth, and you've seen this before probably in movies. The drummer would be in a booth, and he would be blocked off, and all the drums would be mic'd, and the guitar player would be in another little room, and they would have his amp mic'd. They'd all have headphones on, so they could hear what everybody was playing, but each of their separate instruments were isolated to the recording, to the tape, or to the recorded track, so that they could go back and work with the kick drum without the guitar being in the kick drum track, and by singing with vocals.
But usually when we are going to record something, the kind of process of it all, so usually the musical director, which is always Mike McFarland, gets it. Maybe he'll adapt it, maybe not. Maybe he'll give it to Vic, or need to adapt. And once we've done that, we need to make what's called a scratch track. And that's just a practice track for the singer. Because if we aren't going to be singing it, the person who is needs to know how to fit the words that are on a page to this melody that they're listening to in Japanese. So we go in and we record, not some fabulous thing, just kind of like, la la la, here's how the words go, okay, great. And that's what you get to practice with to learn it. And then sometimes you go in and you can, if you need it, have the scratch track playing in your headphones while you record, if it's really difficult. And this has happened before. The song, for whatever reason, is just hard. Intervals are hard to hear, and I can't hear them, so keep the scratch track on. I'll sing along with it till I feel comfortable enough. And now you guys don't hear the scratch track at all. It's just, I do. And then, or the singer, whoever the singer is. Yeah. And then it gets mixed.
Sometimes it reminds me of something funny. Sometimes I would be called to sing a song, for instance, for Mike. There was a one-piece song that he had written the adaptation to, and he recorded himself singing a scratch vocal so that I would know how the lyric fit into the music. But the song was really high, and I have this high tenor voice, and Mike does not. And so his scratch track was literally an octave below, and it was really, it just sounded so, it was, because he's sitting there going, whatever it was, like A to Z or something, it was like, you can't stop me now, I'm always going. And I was like, wow, it sounds so different down an octave, but depends on where the song is supposed to be, if it's a high tenor song, or if it's a lower voice, or female, or whatever, and the scratch is just for the purpose of showing you how it fits into the song, into the track.
Other questions? Lots.
Yeah, this is awesome. I'm so glad you guys are engaged in this. You want to pick something?
Mario Cat Woman. Did you have a question? No? I thought you knew. Okay. I don't know.
Yes, in the back with the bow.
Oh, on your right.
On a general scale, how hard would you say adapting a song is?
Just depends on the song. So it's hard to make a general scale. Sometimes we have a really awesome translation, and it just happens just like that, and it's real easy. And other times we have to do things like match flaps, use the word astronomical, and keep in, these 5 other English words. So from song to song, it's different. Do you mean, now when you say how difficult is it to adapt, you mean from the writer's perspective? Like making the lyrics? Yeah, it just depends on the song.
Yeah, there's so many variables, you know? The things that she said, and then different people are different. Different people's writing process and creative process is different. You know, something that might be very easy for you might take somebody a little longer to do. They can still do it, but it may take a little longer. So there are different variables. Yes, me.
What was it like making the Brothers song, and could you sing it for us, please?
Yes!
Well, you know, the Brothers theme from the original Full Metal is like one of the most beautiful songs.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And when I first heard it, it was one of those songs, you guys, whenever I would hear it in my headphones when we were recording the show, I would get choked up. I'm like, oh no, there's that music again. Because it's just so emotional. It's such a beautiful piece. And a girl named Marianne Miller did an amazing adaptation. She wrote the lyric, and the original is not even in Japanese.
Russian.
It's in Russian. And it was recorded by like the Warsaw Boys Choir or something like that. Or yeah, it was pretty amazing. But yeah, I've actually got a little bit of that there. You want to hit that? We'll do that just for you. Unfortunately, it's not very high, so.
Unfortunately or fortunately?
No, fortunately, it is not very high, so.
That is the beat.
That's it.
Not very high. It disappeared, I don't know. I'll try it again. Here.
How can I repay you, brother mine? How can I expect you to forgive? Clinging to the past, I shed our blood, shattered your chance to live. Though I knew the laws, I paid no heed. How can I return your wasted breath? What I did not know has cost you dear, for there is no cure for death. Beautiful mother, soft and sweet, once you were gone, we were not complete. Back through the years, we reached for you. The last was not meant to be. And how can I make amends for all that I took from you? I led you in hopeless dreams. My brother, I was a fool. Don't cry for the past now, brother mine. Neither you nor I are free from blame. Nothing can erase the things we did, for the path we took was the same. Beautiful mother, soft and sweet, once you were gone, we were not complete. Oh, don't cry. Through the years, we reached for you. Alas, was not meant to be. My dreams were blind and new. I long to return to that time. You guys are so sweet.
Thank
The Beatles want to be in this panel, definitely. Who's got a question? Yes.
Yeah, I had a question. When you guys said, even though you translated from the Japanese, that you want to keep the English words in there, but I was wondering, has you ever come across like maybe a song that, if keeping the English words would maybe throw it off a beat somehow?
I don't think so. I could see that happening, but usually they do get the rhythm of the word right, though they may pronounce some of the consonants wrong.
And if it did happen, what would you guys do then?
We would do, kind of like you mentioned before, try and guess what the reason for that word or the feeling for that word was. Or sometimes maybe put it in, but in a different way. Like in, for example, the Oron opening, the Sakura kiss, you hear those words in English, in English, in the Japanese. But in the English version, we decided not to keep Sakura with kiss because Sakura means cherry blossom, and in the midst of the other lyric that was being written, we're like, well, this word, it just doesn't belong. The important part is the kiss part. So we kept that, and it became, and with one kiss, we will stop time and I'll fall in love with you, etc. So that's what we did instead. So.
You know what else, you guys? Sometimes you need to realize that you can take a lot of, there is a lot of liberty given to the original Japanese that when you adapt it into English, you wouldn't get that latitude. You know what I mean? Like if we were to do something exactly as it was, even if it was a mistake somehow, it wouldn't sound right to our sensibilities. And if you heard it in English, you'd be like, that doesn't sound right.
Doesn't
Or that
even
doesn't
sound
seem
like a
right.
song.
Yeah, that doesn't right. Well, if it were in Japanese, it would make a little more sense. It would probably be a little less noticeable. But when you adapt it culturally to a different musical sensibility, if we were to honor it perfectly sometimes, you wouldn't like it. It wouldn't make sense to you. It wouldn't seem right.
Because above all, the point of all of this is not just to give you some words in English so you know what it is they're saying. We are trying to create a song that sounds as if it was written in English to begin with. That's the goal. And I think when you can just easily sing along with it, and almost as if you never knew that it was ever in Japanese. Like they must have wrote this song in English.
Right.
To start. You know, that's what I aim for when I'm adapting. So.
Exactly. That's a good point. All the way in the back, yes.
Wrapping it up. We're getting the wrapping up.
Was there ever a song that you really fought for that wasn't going to happen, but you were like, we really have to translate this? And alternatively, is there any song that you would never want to translate?
Lord of mercy. I feel like there's a yes coming on. Like, I know the answer to this. What is that? Oh, okay. I directed a show called Line Barrels of Iron, and I really loved the closing songs, but I really loathed the opening song. I don't know why. It was just, like I mentioned before, the intervals and chords sometimes in Japanese music just made me go, but it's one of those things that I knew, like, we really couldn't sing it in English because then people would hate it even more. So, like, okay, let's just leave it. Actually, I was told by the producers we can't mess with this song, just leave it. I'm like, okay, good, just don't make me listen to it anymore. But I did want to do the closings because they were beautiful, and I had cast members who could sing, and I wanted them to get a chance to do it, but no such luck. It's time to wrap it up. We've got the wrap it up symbol. Vic and I have something cool in the morning.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what other panels you have left, but tomorrow morning, at 10 a.m., I've got a Star Trek trivia challenge. So
My
if
dad
you're
is
foolish enough to think that you can stump me at original Star Trek trivia, bring it on.
My dad is.
And right after that is I'm going to be doing a faith panel, and Caitlin and I will be doing that together. This is something that we've started doing a few years back, and